So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have a copy of the financial plan right here and a copy in front of you guys. That way we can look along together and see exactly what's going on in this financial plan, and I can get you familiar with everything involved, give you full-on explanation. That way if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask me here. The top is just a cover letter that y'all can look at whenever you get the chance. The second page is going to be a table of contents, just a simple guideline. That way you can always be able to go through it. The first part of the financial plan is going to be the engagement letter. This is me addressing you guys in an agreement that we're going to have, and it's basically giving the scope of our relationship, which you can read through. It tells that basically we're going to be meeting on an annual basis to revise and go through anything that has happened, to be able to just make any revisions that we have, and then also with the annual basis as well, we're going to be able to make adjustments along the way. So it's not we meet once, but we make adjustments all year long. The fees are put out here that we agreed to. We agreed on the fee of $2,000 for the first year, and it goes through those fees, and it's the agreement in that. It talks about any changes that are made. So if y'all have any changes within your plan or any changes within your information, that you guys will give that to me on a timely basis, because it can affect your plan. So if you have any life events or anything that changes that's pertinent for me to know, that y'all will be able to agree that you'll give me that information. It addresses the fact that I have no conflict of interest at the time, and that if any conflict of interest does come up, I will let you know, and we will agree on that from there. So that's just the engagement letter, and then basically the next page is going to be a signature. You guys can sign that at the end of this meeting. Next is going to be the disclaimer. So the disclaimer is basically saying that it's going to be completed in the timely manner. All the work that I do is going to be completed timely, and that y'all are agreeing to that, and that this information has been completed in a timely manner. Anything is confidential between me and you. Nothing will be exposed. Everything's confidential. And then also agrees that financial markets are, as always, they're unstable. Nothing's certain. I'm not promising anything. It's all based on history, but it's never ever guaranteed. And so then y'all are going to sign this page as well at the end of the meeting, and go ahead and get that disclaimer signed. So then we start looking at the financial plan itself. The client profile is what starts, and so this is a look at the personal profile, and this is just basically all of y'all's information set out. That retirement lifestyle plan that you filled out at the last meeting, basically where y'all were saying what's important to you and what ranking do you want to give it. So what I did here is I ranked out exactly which ones are important, which ones are most important, and that way you guys can get a real good look at which ones you think are needs, wants, and wishes. If you go ahead and turn the page, on page 8, it says basically that these needs, wants, and wishes are all written out here. This is a summary of all of them. So instead of just saying like a simple, like college is a need, it talks about exactly what you guys are wanting within that. So it's saying you want 4 years of college education funded for both John and Patricia, Texas A&M and University of Houston respectively. So it goes down the line, and so that way you guys can get a real look at what exactly are your goals and objectives, because sometimes it's hard to remember that. Like what exactly are the things that we're wanting in a financial plan? What are they? So this will give a good look that anytime you want to look at it, it has your needs, wants, and wishes that we've figured out through that worksheet. The next page is going to be some assumptions. These are inputs in the plan, so like the general inflation rate, all the research behind it, everything like that, the before retirement rate of return, all these different things that we make as assumptions here, that's going to be on this page. So then I also talk about your current ages and your retirement ages, salary, what age you want to start your Social Security, that kind of thing. So college costs now. These are all assumptions that are within the plan, and that you can always take a look back and see, well, wait, what is the assumption that we're assuming that we're going to retire, that kind of thing. Then we're going to go ahead and look at the executive summary. So here we're going to start looking deep into the plan more. This is a real overview of it. It's funding your children's college education, planning for retirement at age 62 and 60, reduce tax liabilities, review of insurance policies, review of will and estate plan, review emergency fund, analyze the investment portfolio, review the purchase of a new home in 2016, plan for charity donations, travel, and new cars regularly throughout retirement, a certain amount of funding for your children's wedding, plan for a country club membership, look into making a major purchase of a sports car in retirement, review leaving bequests to children and charity, and develop a complete and comprehensive financial plan. So basically all all those things are what we already went over, but those are extra things that we talked about, like reviewing your will and estate plan. But this gives a full-on summary before we start it, to look at exactly what all is included in this. So here is the cash flow statement pre the recommendations. Basically what all this is going to have is going to be what you guys gave me. So your income, your expenses, and it's going to have your total savings, all that stuff. It's going to have it out. So I made you a full-on cash flow statement of your monthly and annual. So you can take a look at that. Basically, when you get down to the bottom line, it says how much are your total variable expenses, how much are your fixed expenses, your income, and then it goes ahead and it says how much are you spending. Your total expenses are looking at $176,000 a year or $14,718 a month, and then it talks about your total annual savings. So right now it says your total annual savings with your income is going to be $128,912. And so we'll talk more about your savings later on. On the next page is going to be a net worth statement. Basically, it's taking a look at all of your assets and all of your liabilities. It's taking your assets and subtracting them, and that's going to be your net worth. So how much are you guys worth in your net worth? And it's looking at $2,966,000 right now. So that's great. So you can take a look at that anytime you want. Then next, we're going to look at cash management analysis. Basically what this is it takes a look at all these different ratios, and there's some extra ones that I put in there that I explained if you want to look at them, but the really important ones that I wanted to look at were liquidity ratio. You guys, what your ratio is right now is 9.85, but what that means basically is it's 9.85 times your monthly income. And so you only really need about 6 times your monthly income. And so what I'm going to be recommending is that the extra is put into a brokerage account. And so I talk about that a little later as well, what exactly my recommendation is. Your emergency fund analysis, it's basically what I was just talking about, is that you guys have a little bit too much sitting in checkings and savings. There's just a little bit too much liquidity. I feel like that can be brought back a lot. Your emergency fund realistically with your income needs to be at about 6 months of your living expenses, which needs to be at about $88,306. And you're sitting at $145,000 right now. So I also put a recommendation here for Ally Bank, and that's to move the funds to your account, your emergency account, and that way it's gaining more than a savings or a checking account would. Realistically, you're not gaining anything really in those. So if you move over your emergency fund to that would be great, because you'll gain at least a little bit. Your current ratio, basically it's your liquid assets over your current debt payments. So it's saying, can I pay my amount of debt payments right now? And so I recommend you stay definitely above 1, so that way you can always be paying off your debt payments. Right now you're at 6.59, which is a really high number, and that's good. So right now you could be paying your debt payments off 6.59 times, so 6 times and a little bit more of your debt payments, and you'd still be okay. And so that's really good, but at the same time, even though that's a really great number, you don't need to be that high, and that relates back to just bringing down some of that amount that you have in your checking and savings, and just getting some of that in emergency fund and some of that back into your brokerage account. Your savings ratio right now is it's it's 45%. Recommended amount of savings is 10%, so you guys are really high. And I personally am recommending definitely for your plan that you guys need to be keeping that savings as savings. The more you can do, the better, but 45% of your income is a really good amount, and I'd say to keep at that. So my overall analysis is on this page 16. My recommendation is that you take out $50,000 from your checking account and move it into your brokerage account to reduce that emergency fund to around 6 months of expenses, and be able to use that money for long-term goals instead of that short-term where it's really not gaining any money. Move your savings account into Ally Bank that offers 1.3%. That'll give you more checkings and savings. That'll just give you a better rate, but still offer the liquidity, and then keep saving like you are. So that's a overall recommendation page. That way you can look back at that. Next, we have the education planning. So I took a look at that, and y'all are wanting to provide 4 years of college for both John and Patricia. And basically, if y'all can see here that I provided a Excel sheet that kind of gives you a breakdown of what exactly it's today's cost, what is the cost escalation, which is the inflation rate of education, their ages, what age they want to start, how long they want to be in college, which is 4 years that y'all want to pay for, and the investment rate of the investment that I found. Current year it is, and amount saved. So y'all have 529 plans for both Patricia and John, and it equals up to $64,000, which is really great. And so basically we include all of that in this analysis, and we get a good look at it, and really what y'all need to be saving to fully fund their college for 4 years is $1,031 at the end of each year. Beginning of year, $976, and then also $84 at the end of each month if you want to do it that way. But really, $1,031 at the end of each year would get you to that point. Also, here's a sinking fund that you guys can take a look at. So basically, my education recommendation is going to be to get a 529 plan. My 529 plan recommendation is going to be the Vanguard Conservative Growth Portfolio. So y'all will put $1,031 at the end of each year into that account, and it's going to be gaining 5.61%, which is above the education inflation rate, so it'll definitely be able to get to that point. You guys can take a look at some of that investment information, but that's my education recommendation. Next, we're going to look at risk management and insurance planning. So I am recommending that y'all's life insurance definitely be updated, because currently James has $400,000 plan and Mary has $500,000, and they definitely need to be more. We're looking at maybe a $2 million plan for James and at least a $3 million plan for Mary, a little bit more for both. And so I really want to take a look at that. If that's something y'all want to spend more money on, it is going to cost more, but it would definitely be very advantageous to both of you to get it. Then that's something I want to look into with you guys, and something that if y'all want to go through with, then I can get you some quotes. I say that you should keep your auto insurance. I think that it looks great. I see no reason to be redoing that. For your homeowner's insurance, when you guys do move into that new home, you're going to need a new insurance policy for your home. And so I definitely would automatically, we're going to have to find you a new insurance plan worth the value of the home, which is $660,000. Next, we're going to look at disability insurance. Both disabilities need to be higher. Mary is the only one who has disability insurance, and I definitely would recommend that James get some as well. So that's another thing that if you guys want to add on more of that, I highly recommend it. We can look into some plans for you to do that. Next, we're going to look at the investment policy statement. So what this looks at is the first page, there's an overview of your accounts. You have a traditional inherited IRA, you have a 403b, 401k, and a brokerage account. So that gives an overview of all your investment accounts. And then your time horizon, we're looking at about 13 years until retirement is what you guys are wanting for retirement. Your investors' risk over return on page 23. Basically, your risk tolerance scores came in. James was at 47 and 61 on how much tolerance you prefer and can have. And so what I did was I took a middle score of both of those. So 54 is where I put your risk tolerance, and you guys can take a look at that. Right now, in the next part, we're going to take a look at where your current portfolio is, and it's definitely a lot higher than where your risk tolerance is. But I put you guys at 54 and on the graph, which is pretty average. You're about an average risk taker, and so that's where we kind of look at all of your investments. Tax guidelines, your current tax guideline bracket is 33%. Rebalancing, it talks about the portfolio. If it falls below 10% in any category or asset allocation, that basically we're going to be rebalancing your portfolio at any point. So your IPS review, we're going to review it at least annually. Here's an overview too of all the different things that we invest in. So we're going to invest in stocks, bonds, cash and cash equivalents, money market, commodities, funds. You can take a look at that more in depth too, but those are all the things that we would invest in if we end up having a plan together. So then I'm going to get you guys to sign that IPS here to agree with that. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at your current versus proposed allocation in your investments. Right now, your portfolio is looking at 78% stocks and 22% long-term bonds, which is really, really high. I definitely recommend rebalancing, and I definitely think that's way too risky for you guys to be taking on right now, especially since you're getting even closer to retirement. There's a proposed amount of variety of investments. I think you should definitely get in some more cash, about 4% cash, short-term bonds, intermediate-term bonds, large cap value stocks, definitely still keep the stocks, but we just need to wait it out a little more, get more diversified. So if you turn the page, you see the current asset allocation just by itself. That way you can get a good look at the fact that basically 22% is in long-term bonds, 22% in large cap value stocks, 36% in large cap growth stocks, which is high risk. 18% is in small cap stocks, and then 2% is in international developed stocks. So we're looking at 100% of that being pretty risky investments, which is definitely too high for your risk tolerance. So next I took a look at some analysis and evaluation. There's definitely some overlap where you guys are having some of the top holdings within your accounts. So it might seem like you're maybe diversified in some areas, but really those areas need to be more diversified. Expense ratios, the higher expense ratios are, the lower return, and you have some higher expense ratios that need to be reallocated and rebalanced. The appropriateness of portfolio risk tolerance, if you take a look here, you have your current portfolio is at high risk with high return, but then really when you look at it, it's really high risk for the amount of return you're getting. So we're going to put you in a lower risk that fits your tolerance. So then if you can go ahead and look through these, this is your current asset allocation of each account. So that way you can see exactly what's going on in each of your accounts. And then your proposed asset allocation. So the asset allocation that we're proposing is going to be definitely more within your risk tolerance. It's going to show more diversification. There's going to be more bonds and not as many stocks. The tax implications, there are no tax implications on any retirement accounts. The only ones that will be is in the brokerage account, which I'll go over that later. So if you sign on to Girling Financial Planning, we can move these accounts into our accounts with Charles Schwab to manage and invest them for you. So that's what we're proposing to do, and to definitely lower your risk, because you can still get that good return without having to be quite as risky as you are. Y'all are in too many stocks right now. So retirement planning, y'all were at 41% confidence, and 77% is where I got the plan. 41% is basically saying you're 41% likely to have success in your plan, which is way too low. So basically my recommendations are that you each retire 1 year later, and that you you're going to have more retirement expenses than you think, because honestly your retirement expenses were too low compared to what y'all are spending now. So I put that at $160,000, and then both the kids fully paid for college. The $660,000 house still paid for, and then each of the categories, you can take a look at this, but they're just lower in some areas. So instead of $25,000 to charity each year, it's $20,312, and so everything is just lowered a little bit, but everything is you're still able to keep most of your goals. The only thing we had to take out completely was the major purchase of a sports car. So that was the only thing we had to take out. You can take a look at Social Security too. The timing, it's the best for James to start getting it at 69 and then Mary at 69 as well. So then tax planning, we took a look at some of that, and definitely there's a future concern for being phased out of personal exemptions that we need to take a look at in the long run. Investment tax implications for changing your asset allocation. It'll cost maybe $30,450 at most from changing in your brokerage account, but not more than that. It could be less than that. Education plan tax, you can use the 529 plan for gift exclusion, and retirement tax implications. Since you have a retirement account at work, you can deduct that, but then you won't be able to deduct the IRA. So that's something definitely a downside. Estate planning, so I gave a full look at your estate plan. You're definitely going to need some updating on the will. There's some areas that you can go through to specifically look at that. Trust, I don't recommend any trust. A letter of last instruction, a living will, power of attorney. I go into exact explanations of what each of these are, but it's definitely something that I recommend to go over with your lawyer and have each of these as a part. I made you a checklist at the bottom to be able to go through that and actually have all of that as part of your estate plan. And then at the back, I have an action plan for you guys. So these are in order of importance and in order of what needs to be done first. So I recommend reallocating your investments to Girling Financial Planning first, to lower your risk, because you're very high risk right now. Add $1,031 at the end of each year to recommended 529 plan. Take out $50,000 from your checking, move it over to your brokerage account, to emergency fund, to around 6 months of expenses to be able to use that money for long-term goals. Buy a new home insurance policy worth the value of the home that you're moving into. Move your savings account to Ally Bank. Buy a new life insurance policy for James and Mary. Buy new disability disability insurance, meet with the lawyer to update all the estate planning stuff I went over, keep the saving like you're doing, and decide if your needs, wants, wishes for retirement plan are still accurate and if the amounts align with your goals. So that's a look at your entire financial plan, and that definitely let me know any other questions you have.